This episode of Hydroshow is sponsored by Hydromag, the UK's independent hydroponics magazine.
In episode 3, I visited the aquaculture greenhouses in Sheffield, where Nico and I planted some chilli seeds in various growth mediums. 3 weeks later, I went back to have a look at how our seedlings had come on and to learn how to transplant them into new medium. I'm back here at Aquaculture to transplant our seedlings. It's been just over 3 weeks now, and I'm really looking forward to see how they've come on. Hi Nico.
Hello.
I've been really looking forward to see how we've been getting on with the seedlings. So can we have a look? Can we check them out?
Of course, yeah, yes you can.
Fab. Wow. This looks amazing. So how come some of them haven't sprouted? Is this common?
It is, yes, with seeds. You know, you get the odd one that's just not viable. A lot of the time it can be down to environmental factors as well, too hot or too cold environment. Sometimes they can dry out, you know, user error if they dry out. Other than that, no, they should generally come up, unless they're too old.
Fantastic, well they're looking really good, I'm really pleased with those. So, now they're at this stage here, what do we do next?
Well, now we basically want to get the seedlings potted on into a larger pot to establish the root zone, ready for then potting onto your final system. Some of them will be going into the slightly larger Rockwool cubes, some of them will be going into Coco. It's basically dependent on what system you want to end up in. So if you're going into a Rockwool cube, it's good to end up in an NFT system. If you're in a drip system, you want to obviously be potting them into Coco or into soil, depending on your chosen type of medium.
Fab, well let's get going.
Okay, so now it's the transplanting time. If we start with Rockwool first, pre-soaked with 4-inch Rockwool cubes. So you need to, obviously once they've taken out the reservoir, you want to reduce them by roughly 20 to 30% of the water, so they're not dripping. You don't want them too wet, they just need to be moist. So once you've got your block with the right amount of water in, simply take your seedling and plop them in the hole.
Easy as that?
Yep. After that, basically you need to make sure, one particular thing with Rockwool is that it's raised off the floor to allow a layer of air to go underneath your block. So when the roots grow through, once they reach the bottom of the block, they'll become air pruned by the layer of air, and that will give you a much better developed root system in the actual Rockwool block. So when you then transplant that onto your system, the roots will take off a lot quicker. So do you want to go ahead and plant one up?
Yeah, I'll have a go. Yeah. So now we've put these into the stone wall. What happens next?
Well, typically you'd let them establish in the new block or pot for approximately 3 to 4-ish weeks, depending on really how quickly they root through there. You'd need to water those obviously regularly, roughly once every 3 to 4 days, but it depends on the conditions in the room, temperatures and humidity. Also, you'd want to keep them as humid as possible, so use a propagator lid whilst they're establishing, which we'll put on in a bit after we've potted up the rest.
So how do we check to see if the roots have established?
Rockwool is very simple to check. You literally pick the block up, have a look on the underside, and you're wanting to see, you know, approximately 15 to 20 or so roots poking through the bottom, just ready to expand into whatever system you then choose to plant it into.
So now can you show us how to transplant them into Coco and soil?
Yeah, sure. So let's get these out of the way. So when you're repotting Coco and soil, you treat them in a very similar way when you're initially potting up. When you're going through the bags, you want to make sure that you don't have any large chunks of matter like this. So if you come across anything like this in your bag, just break it up, make sure it's nice and loose and fibrous. And then you simply take your pot and start filling it up. You want to fill it up to approximately 1.5 centimetres or so, just below the top level. Okay, so now it's time to transplant them into the pots. Need the drip trays underneath the pots to catch any wastewater, unless you want to flood your floor. Like I said, the only difference now between the Coco and the soil is that the Coco needs to be pre-charged with nutrient, because it doesn't have any residual nutrient in it. The soil already contains organic nutrient and some mineral nutrients, so you just need to water that through after you've transplanted your seedling. Okay. There's your trays.
Great stuff.
So it's a bit of nutrient water I've made earlier. So you just need to pour this through your cocoa until you get a nice bit of runoff coming through. As soon as you get a little bit of the water coming out the bottom, that's all you need to do. So now the cocoa's got a nutrient content to it, it's fine to plant a seed in. So you create a hole for your seedling. And the ones we've got in the coir jiffies are here. So if you choose any one of those, and plant it out. Just literally push it in the hole and neaten the surface.
Right?
That's it. So all you need to do now is get rid of the water that's fallen through, because you don't want your pot sat in water. And that's it. It's the soil. You create a hole first. And select your seedling from the soil jiffies.
Oh, so we're putting them in first.
Yep.
Before
So you
the
put these in
water.
first, because, like I say, because the soil already contains nutrient. So now it's just a case of watering through. And all you do is pour some water through until you get a small amount running through the bottom again.
So is that just pure water?
Just pure water, yep. Don't need to add anything to it. And there you go.
Okay, so is that everything then?
Pretty much, it's now just a case of getting them back underneath the propagator and letting them establish underneath the propagator lid for the next few weeks until they've developed their root system.
Okay.
So if we get the seeds out of the way. And bunch these together.
Okay.
Okay, so while they're under here, for the next few weeks you need to slowly expose them to a lower humidity environment. So you'd start with these lids closed, and every day or so just slightly open the lid a little bit more to let a little bit more of the humidity out until they've developed their root system. Other than that, it's just a case of lowering the light to the right level, just so they've got enough light to establish under.
If you're looking for more information on planting seeds, you can see articles in issues 4 and 5 of Hydromag.
Grow Supplies is one of the leading hydro stores in the UK. Although based in the Northeast, our reputation has spread far and wide. At Grow Supplies, we pride ourselves on your results. The better you do, the better we do. Successful growers like you want a store that means business. So come to Grow Supplies and achieve your growing dreams. Grow Supplies for those in the grow. Visit www.growsupplies.com.
This episode of Hydroshow is sponsored by Hydromag, the UK's independent hydroponics magazine.